Идет о испытании крылатой ракеты неограниченной дальности «Буревестник» с ядерной энергетической установкой. Знаю, что у меня есть доклад и со стороны промышленности, в целом мне известны и оценки Министерства обороны. Это все-таки уникальное изделие, которого в мире ни у кого нет.
Russia said this week that they've tested a new missile that can go more than 8,000 miles. Is that saber-rattling for you? What is that?
They know we have a nuclear submarine, the greatest in the world, right off their shores. So, I mean, it doesn't have to go 8,000 miles. And they're not playing games with us. We're not playing games with them either. We test missiles all the time. But, you know, we do have a submarine, a nuclear submarine. We don't need to go 8,000 miles. And I don't think it's an appropriate thing for Putin to be saying either, by the way. He ought to get the war ended. A war that should have taken 1 week is now in its soon 4th year. That's what he ought to do instead of testing missiles.
Vladimir Putin claims Russia has test-launched a new nuclear-powered missile dubbed the Flying Chernobyl and has vowed it will soon be ready for war. The Russian president said his menacing 9M73 Zero-Burevestnik missile, assigned the codename Skyfall by NATO, was a weapon of unlimited range powered by a nuclear engine. Putin's long-touted superweapon will be met by scepticism in the West, with the missile's development history previously blighted by failures and delays. The Skyfall missile was previously described by top State Department official Thomas Countryman as a uniquely stupid weapon system. He called the Burevestnik a flying Chernobyl that poses more threat to Russia than it does to other countries, due to its deadly radioactive trail. But the latest supposedly successful missile launch saw it travel for 14,000 kilometers for 15 hours, top Russian Army General Valery Gerasimov said. Putin also boasted his new weapon was invincible in the face of current and future missile defense systems. Dubbed SSC-X-9, Skyfall by NATO, the Burevestnik missile is about 12 meters long and carries a thermonuclear warhead. It was first unveiled in 2018 and was one of 6 Russia superweapons hailed by Putin. Its sister projects included the Satan II, or Sarmat, nuclear missile, the Zircon, Avangard, and Kinjal hypersonic weapons, and the Poseidon submarine nuclear drone. Experts have cast doubt over its realistic capabilities.
Hey, Shalom, Akim Shalom. First and foremost, as always, I want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Merchakwadash. I would like to give double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us his truth and that's what teaching his truth, and much peace, love, and salutation to the elect, beginning with the 144,000, all the way down to the large multitude that believes, and who the Lord will deliver in these last days. To you all I say Shalom. I'm the brother Tazamah from the Great Millstone Dallas camp, coming back today with another quick lesson, and I pray this lesson will be edifying to the elect. And the clip that you've seen in the beginning of the video was a clip of how Russia has created a new missile, all right, that's able to go 8,000 miles, which is pretty much unlimited range. All right, and this missile is pretty much impenetrable. All right, and with this missile, you know, initially when I seen it, you know, it made me think of the scripture here in Isaiah the 54th chapter. All right, the 16th verse. All right, Isaiah 54 verse 16, it says, "Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy." All right, and that waster is talking about the ICBM, which ICBM is an acronym for intercontinental ballistic missile. All right, where a missile that can go intercontinental. All right, you can shoot a missile from Russia and it could arrive in the Americas within minutes, you know, maybe 30 minutes or so. All right, but with this new missile, all right, that the Russians created, remember the scripture says that the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. He turneth it whithersoever he will. All right, so you know the technology that these Edomites out here in Russia have created a missile, all right, to go 8,000 miles and pretty much have unlimited range. That's all by design of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. And once again, these missiles are going to be used. Okay. And you have the talks of, you know, with the whole digital ID infrastructure being set up, you know, leading to the mark of the beast. You have the uproars of the people in the world, You have the wars and the rumors of wars. You have nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom. You know, you have these proxy wars that are taking place. All these various different events that are happening simultaneously at the same time. All right, it's no coincidence. All right, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua is definitely speaking in the planet Earth. So as we read in Isaiah 54, verse 16, it says, "Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and I have created the waster to destroy." This is really Yahweh Bashem Yahushua's missiles. Okay? Now, as you see here, you know, I'd rather say as you listen, you know, in the beginning, you know, you heard Vladimir Putin pretty much saying that this is a impenetrable missile. Then it went to another clip where it talked, you know, we had Donald Trump talking about it, you know, how, you know, Russia's not playing no games pretty much, but as they're not playing games, America ain't playing games either. You know, so, you know, things are heating up. All right, World War III we're already in World War III, you know, but it's just going to escalate into a hot war. Right now, it hasn't physically, you know, gotten hot, but it's going to escalate into a hot war. And with it escalating into a hot war, the scripture says, matter of fact, let me get it real quick, then we'll get the article. Let's get Isaiah 9 real quick. Isaiah 9 and, let's see, Isaiah 9 and 5. It says, "For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise, and garments rolled in blood. But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire." So this next battle, all right, which the battle of Armageddon, the battle of World War III, is going to be the battle to end all battles. You know, this is going to be with burning and fuel of fire. Okay, you have push button warfare, where you can pretty much have a landmass be ignited on fire just by the push of a button. But once again, this is all through the will and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. All right, so this is from the endoftheamericandream.com, which it really is the end of the American dream, because it's not really, you know, first and foremost, a dream isn't real. And secondly, this isn't a dream, it's really a nightmare. But this is the end of it. You know, you hear Apostle Gabar always mention, you know, the actor / comedian, what's his name? George, I forgot his last name, but, you know, he says that America's circling the drain. George Carlin, I want to say his name is. But he says that America is circling the drain. All right, and when something circles the drain, you know, it doesn't necessarily go down the drain all at once. You know, it takes a while for it to go down the drain, but it spirals and then it turns pretty much into a cyclone. You know? But it says for a moment, I would like you to imagine what the perfect cruise missile would look like. It would have to be so evasive that no missile defense system on Earth could intercept it. It would also have to possess unlimited range so that it could hit any potential target on the entire planet. It says, in addition, it would also have to be capable of carrying a nuclear warhead so that it could serve as the ideal nuclear deterrent. What I have just described may sound like a fantasy, but now it actually exists. All right, and remember the scripture says that they're going to hit, pretty much they're not going to break their ranks, but they're going to hit their mark. Let's get that real quick. And the apostles actually went into Joel. Was it last weekend? Or it might have been a weekend before last. I'm thinking it was last weekend, actually. This is Joel chapter 2. And I'm just going to jump straight to the point. All right, this is Joel chapter 2, verse 7. It says, "They shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war. And they shall march every one on his ways. And they shall not break their ranks." And this is talking about the missiles. Okay, it says, "Neither shall one thrust another." See, well, let me go back up. It says, and they shall not break their ranks, pretty much meaning that you're not going to have a missile that's going to get you know, shot out the sky. You're not going to have, you know, another intercontinental ballistic, you know, intercontinental ballistic missile hit another missile in the air. All right, these missiles, remember, the scriptures tell you how Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, he's a flaming fire. Vengeance belongs unto him. You see? So the Lord's Spirit is going to be on these missiles to hit their mark. Okay? It says, "Neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk every one in his path. And when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded." See that? So they're gonna hit their mark, and they're going to hit their mark perfectly, as we're reading here. It says, needless to say, the United States does not have such a weapon. Okay? It says, according to Russian President Vladimir Putin, his military has just successfully tested a new nuclear-powered missile called the Flying Chernobyl. Okay, it's called the Flying Chernobyl. Now, the Chernobyl incident was when a nuclear reactor pretty much failed. And I want to say I forgot exactly where it's at. Matter of fact, let me do this real quick. The Chernobyl incident, the Chernobyl tree, or the Chernobyl disaster. It says on April 18th, 1986, or on April 26th, 1986, the number 4 reactor of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, located near Pripyat, Ukrainian SSR, Soviet Union, exploded. And to this very day, you know, it's still radioactive. As you see, yes, Chernobyl is still radioactive today. It says, though the overall levels have dropped significantly since the 1986 disaster, some areas, especially near the former reactor, remain extremely hazardous, while others have levels considered low enough for restrict tourist access. And they have something called the I think it's called like the elephant foot, I think is what they call it, because it looks like an elephant's foot. You know what I'm saying? Let's see, the Chernobyl. Yeah, the elephant foot is what they call it. It says the elephant foot is a radioactive mass of melted concrete, metal, and nuclear fuel that formed in the reactor number 4 during the 1986 Chernobyl nuclear incident. It's primarily made of silicon dioxide, but also contains uranium, calcium, iron, and other oxides. The mass is still active and emits radiation, though not as intensely as it did when it first formed. So this is actually still, around to this day. And they call it the elephant foot. You see? So this is called the this nuclear missile. It's called the Flying Chernobyl. Okay? And I want to see if I can do this real quick. Let's copy. Let's copy this. And then we'll go here. Go to the etymology and let's see what Chernobyl means. All right, it's a city in Ukraine from Russian Chernobyl mugwort. All right, mugwort. Site of 1986. Yeah, so I wanted to see if Chernobyl had any etymology to it. But this new missile is called the Flying Chernobyl. Okay? It says, according to Russian President Vladimir Putin, his military has just successfully tested a new nuclear-powered missile called the Flying Chernobyl. Vladimir Putin claims Russia has test-launched a new nuclear-powered missile dubbed the Flying Chernobyl and has vowed it will soon be ready for war. Okay? We read it in Isaiah the 54th chapter, and this is Isaiah. All right, Ezekiel, the other 38th chapter, coming to light even more. All right, it says the Russian president said menacing 9M730 Burevestnik missile, assigned the code name Skyfall by NATO. All right, Skyfall. Hey man, these missiles are going to fall from the sky. Was a weapon of unlimited range powered by a nuclear engine. So once again, this is a missile that has unlimited range, so they can shoot it anywhere. This isn't just another missile. It says once you understand what it is capable of, you quickly realize that it has a potential to change everything. The 9M730 Burevestnik looks like a normal cruise missile, but inside it has a compact nuclear reactor which could allow it to remain in the air for weeks or even months without refueling. Check that out. See that? So this missile has enough nuclear power that it can remain in the air for weeks or even months and doesn't have to even refuel. You see? That's how we know that this destruction, all right, from Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is going to be a destruction from the Almighty. As a matter of fact, let's get that in Isaiah the 13th chapter. It's going to be a destruction from the Almighty. All right, Isaiah 13. And let's see. I think it's Isaiah 13. Okay, I guess not. Or it might be Isaiah 2. Let's see. Let's just type it in. Destruction. Almighty. I know there's another one in Joel, the first chapter as well too. Okay, so it is. I just passed it. Okay, this is Isaiah 13. All right, verse 6. All right, and when we read Isaiah the 13th chapter, this is a prophecy into the destruction of America. Okay. This is Isaiah 13. We'll start at verse 4. It says, "The noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of the nations gathered together. Yahweh of hosts mustereth the host of the battle." And this is whenever these various different nations are going to be gathered together for the valley of Jehoshaphat, in the valley of Jehoshaphat, I rather say, which means in the Hebrew Yahweh Shaphat, which is Yahweh's judgment. It says, "They come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even Yahweh, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land." And that whole land is talking about America. All right, what are these weapons that are going to come from a far country? The missiles. Okay, they're going to be coming from Russia. They're going to be coming from China, Iran, Pakistan, as well as particular different NATO nations as well shooting their missiles. But it says to what? Destroy the whole land. Not world, but the whole land. And that land is talking about Babylon the Great, also known as America. It says, "How ye? For the day of Yahweh is at hand. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty." You see, so this destruction is not going to just be no regular destruction. It's not, when I say regular, it's not going to be it's not going to be a destruction that's going to be common. I put it like that, where now, everybody's so desensitized to it, but you could have a cruise missile hit somewhere in Russia, or you could have a missile hit in Gaza, and it's, nobody really makes no fuss about it no more. You see, but this is going to be a destruction that the Lord is going to bring, that the whole world is going to be completely silent. Like the whole world is going to see it, as it says in Revelation, the 18th chapter. You see, that the whole world is going to recognize, like, damn, because all of America is going to be completely on fire, man. It says, "Therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart or their mind shall melt." You see, everybody's going to be in perplexity, because when you get when that message comes out that there's missiles from Russia and in various different places on their way to America, and they're going to hit, and they're going to hit Dallas, they're going to hit New York, they're going to hit Los Angeles. You're going to have people people defecating on themselves, shitting on themselves, people passing out, just dropping dead from hearing the message. Because there's not going to be any escape. You're not going to be able to go into, a nuclear bunker here in the Americas and survive. Okay? All of America is going to be completely engulfed in fire. It says visually, the Burvesnik resembles a traditional cruise missile with folding wings for compact launch storage. It launches from a ground platform using a solid fuel booster, then switches to an air-breathing nuclear-powered jet engine once it reaches cruising speed. Let's read that last part again. Then it switches to an air-breathing nuclear-powered jet engine once it reaches cruising speed. It says, in theory, this engine heats incoming air via a compact nuclear reactor, allowing the missile to stay airborne for weeks or even months without refueling. So pretty much the air is its fuel. It doesn't have to. It pretty much generates the air as its propulsion system. That's why the scriptures talk about how shot from the ends of the world. Let's see, ends. It's either ends of the earth or world. Let me see. Okay, it has to be worlds, from the ends of the world. Yep. This is 2nd Esdras chapter 16, verse man, it's really, this whole chapter goes hard, but let's start at verse 12. It says, "The earth quaketh in the foundations thereof." And how's the whole earth going to quake? How's the whole earth going to rock to and fro like a drunkard? It's going to rock to and fro like a drunkard from the missiles. It says, "The sea arises up with waves from the deep, and the waves of it are troubled, and the fishes thereof also before the Lord and before the glory of his power." All right, because you got to think, when these nuclear missiles go off, it's going to cause all kinds of tsunamis. It's really going to be some tidal waves that are going to happen. You know, there's going to be all kinds of earthquakes taking place. You know, when the earth is rocking to and fro, it's going to shake the waters. It tells you that in Habakkuk, the 3rd chapter, even when the chariots come, it's going to have its own, the chariots themselves are going to have power to cause the earth to shake too. So it's going to be a disaster, man. Okay. Verse 13, it says, "For strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. His arrows that he shooteth are sharp, and shall not miss, when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world." You see, so these arrows that are going to be shot, all right, into the ends of the world are talking about these missiles, man. You see that in the movie Terminator 2 Judgment Day at the very end of it. You know, you see the missiles being shot up, you know, in the different fields, and, you know, they're hitting various different places. It shows you that in the movie Oppenheimer. And when he had that vision, and at the very end, it showed the missiles being shot from different places, from one place to another. Why do these directors put those scenes in the movies? Because that's going to happen in real life. Okay. It says sources, back to the article, sources estimate that missiles' operational range at 22,000 kilometers, though in practice it may be virtually unlimited. So, bro, even 22,000 kilometers is let's do this. Kilometers to miles. 22,000 kilometers. 13,670 miles. 13,670 miles. So it says sources estimate the missile's operational range at 22,000 kilometers or 13,670 miles. Though in practice, it may be virtually unlimited. So they're saying that it might just be able to just keep going, right? Such a missile could patrol potential conflict zones indefinitely, awaiting launch commands. So it could just be, you know, there in the region. You know what I'm saying? And it could just be scoping the scene, and then when they're ready for it to hit, it could just hit. It says upon receiving orders, it could maneuver towards targets from unpredictable vectors, making interception extraordinarily difficult because you won't know where it's at. You see? And remember, there's also other missiles, like you got the Satan II missile, which is the Sarmat missile. You know? It says you can't destroy a missile before it is fired if it's never on the ground. Let's read it again. You can't destroy a missile before it's fired if it is never on the ground. So once that missile leaves the silo, the technology behind it, it can stay in the air. You see? It says, and a missile that can stay in the air for weeks or even months could theoretically attack from any direction. Bro, 22,000 kilometers? Like, come on, man. It says that is a nightmare for military planners. See? And that's why the scripture says, let's get this. I know it's in Jeremiah 50. I want to say it's in Jeremiah 50. It's either Jeremiah 50 or 51. The king of Babylon, his heart was faint. Let's get it. Just bear with me. Yep. Here you go. Jeremiah 50, verse 43. All right, it says, shit, let's start up. Man. And this whole chapter is dynamite. His apostles are dynamite. This whole chapter is dynamite. Right? It says, verse 40, it says, as God or the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighboring cities thereof, saith Yahweh. And how was Sodom and Gomorrah overthrown? It was overthrown by fire and brimstone. It was pretty much a nuclear destruction that took place in the heavens, where Yahweh Bashem Yahushai pretty much got the elements and formed them into fire that came down from heaven, which was nuclear destruction. It says, so shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell therein. You see, so America is no longer going to be a place where you can dwell. And this lets you know that this ain't talking about ancient Babylon, because you still got people in Iraq, modern day Iraq today. It says, behold, a people shall come from the north, and a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coast of the earth. And that people from the north is talking about the Russians. It says, they shall hold the bow and the lance. And that bow and the lance is talking about their missile technology. They are cruel and will not show mercy. And this lines right up with Isaiah the 13th chapter. They're not going to have mercy on the old and the young. Okay. Once these missiles get shot, they ain't gonna worry about any women that's pregnant or any children that's roaming around that has no idea, that had no business being in a conflict. No. Remember, the scripture says in Ezekiel the 38th chapter that the Lord's gonna put an evil thought in their mind. And the evil thought's gonna be to fire off their missiles. See? It says their voice shall roar like the sea, and they shall ride upon horses, every one put in array, like a man to the battle against thee, O daughter of Babylon. This lines right up with Joel the 2nd chapter. And it's going to be against Babylon. You see? Verse 43, the king of Babylon hath heard the report of them, and his hands wax feeble. You see that? So that when the king of Babylon, which we believe that king of Babylon to be Donald J. Trump, when he gets the alert of those missiles that's going to get shot off, he's going to be afraid. Now, if the Lord has it to rise, it's another person, which, you know, Yahweh Bashim Shah forbid it's not, but hey, if it's the Lord's will, it's the Lord's will. But if he has it to rise to somebody else, whomever it is, man, at the end of the day, when they get that message, all right, it's gonna be it. But we believe it's not. We believe it's Donald J. Trump, and we believe in his office of presidency. This is where the end is gonna come. All right, I'm speaking as a man in the spirit, right? It says anguish took hold of him, and pangs as of a woman in travail. You see, and when a woman's in travail, she can't escape those contractions. You see, once those contractions comes, that's it. Okay, it says, and it will be, back to the article, and it will be exceedingly difficult to perform a successful surprise first attack on an adversary that already has a guaranteed retaliatory strike already in the air. So they try to do something, the missile's already in the air already. So all they got to do is, and remember, Russia also has something called Operation, I want to say it's called Operation Dead Hand, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what it's called, Operation Dead Hand. Yeah, Soviet Dead Hand nuclear system. It says also known as Perimeter. This was a Cold War doomsday device designed to ensure a retaliatory nuclear strike against the United States, right? Specifically against the United States, even if the Soviet leadership was completely wiped out by first strike. So they already have this Soviet dead hand nuclear system already set up. Activation: the system was semi-automatic, meaning it was designed to be activated by a high-ranking official during a crisis. It says if turned on, the perimeter system will begin monitoring a network of sensors for signs of a nuclear explosion. So if there's like a spike in radiation, that would just cause the missiles to go off. If explosions were detected and communication lines to the Soviet general staff went dead, the system would automatically authorize a counterattack. See that? So Russia already has the Soviet dead hand nuclear system already set up if anything were to go down. Okay? Shit, damn, I lose my spot. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Let me skip through this real quick. I don't want to read this whole thing. I'll probably put the article in the description box so y'all can see it too. Let's see. It's still talking about how it can't be intercepted. Yeah, and an absolutely new class of weapon. You see? Which this new class of weapons is going to be a new way that the Lord going to bring forth the destruction. All right, let's see. Here we go. So let's go into the different missiles here. And that's mainly it. You know what I'm saying? That's mainly it. So, you know, y'all heard the clip in the beginning. And like I said, Lord willing, I'll put this link in the description box. So, hey, man, you know, Yahweh Bashim Shai, man, is working. And with this production of the new missile that the Russians done made, you know what I'm saying? This is just going to just add more fuel to the fire, man. All right, so I pray this lesson was edifying to the elect. Call hello, Yahweh Bashim Shai Bashim Hakudash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders, a great millstone that taught us his truth and also teaching his truth, and much peace, love, and salutation to the elect. Until next time, I say shalom.